Just confirming that we are already live on YouTube at the Metropolis channel.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody from Barcelona. Welcome, everybody, to this session organized by Metropolis on celebrating our City Managers Days. The City Managers Days is an initiative that we've launched it's ongoing for some years already, where we bring together CEOs, senior managers from our membership to discuss on given topics. This year is about green infrastructures at the metropolitan scale. Today, we're having this open discussion with everybody, open to all audiences and to all the members of Metropolis and other cities and metropolitan areas. And I think the subject we weren't expecting when we decided to tackle this subject this year about green infrastructures, we didn't know what was going to happen and that the world was going to change, and many of the priorities that we were facing from the urban perspective and the metropolitan perspective were going to change, or maybe probably not change, but some of the processes were going to be accelerated. And as well, we were going to be confronted to some of the contradictions that our urban development and metropolitan development has undergone during the last years. Inequalities has been exacerbated, the digital divide, the need for public space, the need for healthy cities, the need for a polycentric metropolitan space, the need for ensuring mobility, and especially the need of ensuring the city of care, the city that takes care, and the metropolitan space that takes care of its citizens. It's more important than ever. In this sense, I think green infrastructures is not a new debate. It's a debate that we already had on the table. How we can transform all the infrastructures that we already have, these sometimes tough, if I may say, heavy infrastructures that make our metropolitan spaces kind of aggressive and sometimes not really even competitive, how we can transform, introduce new infrastructures with this green approach that can make, on the one hand, make our metropolitan space function, but as well that ensures the quality of life, that ensures sustainability, that ensures environment, and as well allows people to feel part of this urban agglomeration. In this sense, I think, as I said, it's not that something new in infrastructures, but I have the feeling that because of the pandemic, now the issue of green infrastructures is more urgent and critical than ever before. And I hope that today's discussions will show us what's going on, which are the challenges that our metropolitan areas are being confronted to, and which kind of solutions we're aiming for. In this sense, I'm not going to take more time. I give the virtual floor to Alex Heischlinger. He's been accompanying us for the second year, dynamizing and supporting the city managers community, and he will be conducting the session today. So Alex, whenever you want, and thank you for being with us and supporting us in this process.
Thank you very much, Octavi. Bonjour, muy buenas tardes, good afternoon, good morning, or good night. It depends where you have connected to this session today. I'm very proud now for the second time to be, let's say, the moderator, as well as the conductor, and also coordinating that. I have also prepared a slide, which I hope that you can already see. I will also put it on the slideshow. I can. Is it there? You should see it now. Yeah. In this context, I hope all of you, I think we have around 30 to 40 people, let's say, listening to us. First of all, and due to the COVID pandemic, I hope you're still safe and healthy, you and yours at home, which is still very important. Also, we have some hope now that this will be over soon. For the moment, it is not yet so far. Safe and healthy, actually also two of these very decisive elements and words when we speak about how should we change our urban environment. Octavio already said it. I don't know whether either they are two persons, both from the AMB, who are the, let's say, the sponsors of that program, as well as Metropolis, when they decided at the beginning of this year, we want to concentrate and we want to discuss the city manager on the green infrastructure, because right now, this is more and more important, safe and healthy issue. For those who are not the members of Metropolis, the process already started this June, when we, let's say, started the entire process. And today we have this final, let's say, event on the public event, as well as tomorrow we have a private event where all the members of Metropolis also will assist. Before I start, to give you a bit of introduction on the topic and a bit of an introduction of the insights of what we found out, what the Metropolis members are doing before the showcases, some technical issues. It's already mentioned, you are on YouTube Live. The session will be recorded. There are 3 languages available in order to listen to us. It's English, French, and Spanish. And of course, for the speakers and the panelists, take always on your let's say, headset, switch off your microphones. If you don't speak, then we will, let's say, all on the safe environment. As I said, the discussion was how can green infrastructure be dealt with at the metropolitan scale from a metropolitan perspective, and especially how can we optimize its development. It's not a new issue, but it's an issue now which has, let's say, a lot of benefits, especially not only in the pandemic and the COVID crisis, but beyond. We have been searching for several of that, let's say, in the global context of definition. There are many of these definitions, but from the beginning, I already said it in July in our previous webinar, it is very important that the GI, the green infrastructure, has the increased potential to provide strategically planned, smart and integrated solution, resulting in environmental, economic and social benefits by protecting the environment and the biodiversity metropolitan areas. It's very, very broad, I know, but I want to, again, to emphasize on the strategic issues, on the planning issues, and on the integrated, it means also collaborative and cooperative the solution. By definition includes, of course, a very broad of initiatives which can be combined, such as green roofs or walls, red beds, multifunctional zones, biodiversity, rich business parks, etc. What all is about is that we look now for new solutions, because we have been faced with, or we have been, let's say, crowded with former gray infrastructure. The gray infrastructure is very clear because it's for mobility reasons, it's for urban reasons, but now how can we tackle that? How can we overcome too many of this gray infrastructure by substituting, replacing, or extending it with a green infrastructure? Having said that, and I said the journey we had in our City Managers Days started in June, we have let's say, developed a small survey. We made a kind of a survey for all the Metropolis members. We were very overwhelmed that we have received 15 fully fledged filled out questionnaires from the Metropolis members in July. It's very nice, let's say, as you can see, it's a coverage of all the continents, of all the different geographical areas. And it was what we did out of that. We produced city portraits, metropolitan portraits on the green infrastructure. I want to give you only in 2 minutes some of the insights. The first one was that all members, except one, they have dedicated department units or directorates for the development and pursuit of green infrastructure. It's a very positive element. That means in the let's say, city metropolitan organigram, you find and own a department dedicating, let's say, efforts, also the money budget behind, on green infrastructure. In addition, we could also see the majority of the cases dealt with ecosystem service and green and natural spaces. That means this is the main areas where the green infrastructure is focusing on. We also had one case on low carbon production and construction, and also another member includes even renewable energy, transport and mobility, and or recycling and waste management. In addition, very positively, almost 80% of all the participating governments have a strategy on green infrastructure in place in the metropolitan area, political strategy in the territory. And 80% of these metropolitan members also anonymously state that this strategy is supported by a kind of regulatory framework. Whether this is procurement issues, green public procurement, or other regulatory framework, it is there in order to support its deployment. Also a very positive issue. When we look a bit more closer, for all those who were not there in July, but for the wider audience, we have a political strategy. It covers, let's say, to 55% the local level in terms of green infrastructure. But in addition, 36% has a more, let's say, global geographical, let's say, vision. That means also metropolitan, but only 9% of the green infrastructure strategies cover more than the local and the metropolitan area. That means including regional or national area. When we look at the green space per inhabitant, of course, it varies a lot. We have it from very small, let's say, square meters per inhabitant to 100 and more than 100 square meters per inhabitant. Of course, the distribution differs a lot. In most cases, the green infrastructures and the spaces can be found throughout the entire territory. There was not a fixed, let's say, finding in order to say it is in the city centers or it's more in the periphery. It is a mixture of it. Yeah. In addition, when we look at how to implement green infrastructure projects, very positively, it is a clear public-private partnership project. So private companies are from the scratch. You can see here 13 out of the 15 we have received the replies are working very closely with the private sector In addition, which was a bit of a surprise, you can say academia is also involved in green infrastructure. I'm less surprised if you look at on civil society organizations, individual citizens in the involvement, because of course they are directly, let's say, affected by it. But I think it's very indicative in that sense how implementation of green infrastructure is done. Finally, in what I said already before, the majority of all the green infrastructure currently in place and or planning are related to fresh air corridors, parks, green spaces, community gardens, sustainable urban drainage systems. Of course, the others are there as well, but I see you can see that the majority of them are in that three, let's say, types of green infrastructure. Having said that, and taking not too much time, because I think most important are the showcases, we have a very prominent panel, again, from across the world. First of all, I'm of course happy that we have, let's say, Mr. Ramon Torra with us via video. He has recorded a video for us on the very good work the metropolitan area of Barcelona is doing on green infrastructure. This is followed then by Malvina from the Green Ramallah project. Then we have somebody from Rio de Janeiro, Deborah. I think for her it's very early in the morning. Then followed also again very early in the morning by Montreal. And finally, but not least, we have also a fantastic project from Greater Manchester area by Rachel Morrison. At the very end, a small wrap-up, we put it here on the brackets, some provocative thoughts by Galia Chopri. She's co-authoring, let's say, the next issue paper on green infrastructure, which will be also available very soon. I don't want to take too much time. I think let's get started. And I give the floor to Leah in order to run the first video of the green infrastructures, let's say, initiatives from the metropolitan area of Barcelona. Thanks a lot.
Buenas tardes. Un saludo a los participantes en el encuentro de City Managers. ¿De qué hablamos cuando hablamos de infraestructura verde, ¿no? Y en el caso metropolitano son estos espacios de gran riqueza ambiental y social integrados, por ejemplo, por el Parque Natural de la Sierra de Collserola, todo el conjunto de la Serra Litoral, Serra de Collserola, el Garraf, el Ordal, la Serralada de Marina, o los ríos metropolitanos, estos dos ríos mediterráneos, el Llobregat, el Besós, o las costas, este espacio natural de las playas metropolitanas con hábitats muy específicos, o también el parque agrario del Llobregat, ¿no? Un parque agrario que tiene estas diferentes funciones tanto paisajísticas como de lúdicas o de producción, también de producción agrícola. Son espacios verdes interconectados de una gran riqueza ecológica y paisajística, y que junto con los espacios verdes urbanos, todo el sistema de parques, avenidas, plazas o calles con su arbolado y con sus elementos naturales, conforman esta gran infraestructura que llega a ocupar más del 70% de la superficie del territorio metropolitano. Son espacios en que la gestión del territorio llega y es el que permite dar garantías de mantenimiento y de uso, ¿no? La posibilidad de que cumplan la función que tienen asignada en el planeamiento y en el conjunto de la ciudad metropolitana. Beneficios ambientales, funciones ecológicas, de bienes y servicios culturales, también a los que se añaden los derivados, tal como había dicho antes, de la capacidad productiva, ¿no? de alimentos, esta capacidad productiva de alimentos de proximidad y de otros productos. Son espacios diversos y que llegan a tener la misma importancia o más que otras redes de servicios ya existentes, como las de infraestructuras de movilidad, las de telecomunicaciones o las energéticas. ¿Por qué es tan relevante este espacio en el área metropolitana de Barcelona? O sea, las metrópolis contemporáneas se encuentran en pleno proceso de transición ecológica, el cambio climático, el agotamiento de combustibles fósiles y las externalidades ambientales del metabolismo urbano hacen necesaria la aplicación de una visión ecosistémica de los procesos de desarrollo urbano para superar los retos futuros, ¿no? En este sentido, la planificación y gestión de la infraestructura verde metropolitana permite invertir la mirada y poner los ecosistemas en primer término como base estructural para el desarrollo, es decir, cómo la propia actividad urbana o de naturalización nos lleva a tomar la naturaleza como referente, ¿no? Y esto es tema central. Si una infraestructura verde está bien planificada, desarrollada y mantenida, tiene el potencial de guiar el desarrollo, así como definir un marco para el crecimiento económico. Elemento de calidad esencial en cualquier metrópoli, o sea, cómo las decisiones de inversión también tienen en primer término estas calidades ambientales que aporta, estas calidades ecosistémicas que aporta la infraestructura verde. Por tanto, estamos hablando de los condicionantes del desarrollo sostenible en primer término, ¿no? Y la infraestructura verde, tal como decíamos, es un elemento central. Y el mantenimiento de los hábitats y de la calidad de la habitabilidad vinculada también a los elementos o a los hábitats naturales es un tema que la infraestructura verde pone en primer término. Cómo se aborda, en definitiva, la planificación, el desarrollo y la gestión de un territorio metropolitano altamente ocupado y con actividades centrales en lo que sería el desarrollo sostenible más allá de su propio territorio. O sea, las ciudades es donde nos jugamos el futuro y en el caso del área metropolitana es donde se juega el futuro lo que sería un territorio más amplio como es el de Cataluña, ¿no? El enfoque que promueve el área metropolitana busca reforzar la interconexión de los espacios que conforman la infraestructura verde, impregnando el tejido urbano. No estamos hablando de dos territorios distintos, el territorio urbano o estos espacios naturales o en donde la naturalidad tiene unos niveles más altos que en el resto, sino estamos hablando de que todo es metrópolis y son espacios integrados, ¿no? La planificación o la ordenación del territorio es también el crecimiento económico, pero también estaría la preservación de los hábitats ecosistémicos que nos permiten, evitando perturbar las calidades de estos espacios, ¿no? Por tanto, los entendemos no como espacios cerrados, con límites definidos e imperturbables, sino también entendemos que el proceso de renaturalización y de mejora ambiental, ecológica de estos entornos ha de ser dinámica. Y por tanto, creemos que hemos de llegar al máximo de nivel de naturalidad y de maduración ecológica en todos los espacios que podamos. Por tanto, una dinámica de renaturalización en continuo, ¿no? Entre los territorios rurales, los periurbanos y los urbanos. Por tanto, habrá gradientes de naturalidad en cada uno de ellos, pero que además pueden tener evoluciones de salto, de cambiar de estos gradientes de naturalidad. No es dejarlos estáticos, sino hacerlos avanzar en todo lo que podamos. Los ecosistemas que estos ofrecen, que estos espacios, se concreta en estas aproximaciones integrales y pluridisciplinares que abarca los distintos ámbitos donde la área metropolitana tiene competencias, que se manifiesta tanto en la planificación, tal como decía, como en el diseño. Por tanto, es un proyecto integral dentro del territorio metropolitano y al margen de que cuál sea la administración responsable o que la ejecute. Por tanto, los principales retos son la coordinación de una estrategia, por un lado, pluridisciplinar y la implementación de un proyecto integral y la gestión de la complejidad inherente a la infraestructura verde metropolitana. La estrategia pluridisciplinar, el proyecto y la gestión de la infraestructura verde requiere por tanto, tal como decía, de la participación de distintas disciplinas y el establecimiento de sinergias entre las temáticas tan diversas como son la movilidad sostenible, el ciclo del agua, la adaptación al cambio climático. No podemos incidir en la infraestructura verde sin tener presentes todas estas cosas. Ni el cambio climático o la gestión del agua puede ignorar la infraestructura verde. Por tanto, hemos de hablar de esta gestión de la complejidad, pero centrada al final en un tema como es el de la infraestructura verde. Hay que subrayar en este sentido el esfuerzo combinado para dar respuesta a los retos presentes y futuros en esta infraestructura desde todos los ámbitos competenciales del área metropolitana. El modelo urbano, los recursos y residuos, el agua, la movilidad, la energía. Y en especial a través de su planificación, ese elemento que integra todos estos elementos, ya sea desde la redacción del futuro Plan Director Urbanístico Metropolitano, el PDU, en proceso de redacción, con el avance de plan y todo el proceso de participación ciudadana ya completado, y en el proceso de ir a la aprobación inicial en pocos meses. Por tanto, en un proceso muy avanzado, y es el que contempla en primer término esta integralidad de todos los aspectos de gestión del área en lo que afecta al territorio y a la infraestructura verde. También, por ejemplo, el Plan Especial de Protección del Parque Natural de la Sierra de Collserola, con el acrónimo de PEPNAT, ¿no? O cómo a través de otros planes sectoriales igualmente relevantes, como el Plan de Clima y Energía y el recientemente aprobado, estamos hablando de días que fue aprobado en el Consejo Metropolitano, del Plan Metropolitano de Movilidad Urbana. Son elementos relevantes que tienen relación con la infraestructura verde y que la infraestructura verde ha de tener en cuenta a la hora de su planificación y gestión. Segundo tema dentro de esta gestión de la complejidad, el proyecto integral, ¿no? El proyecto integral es una apuesta decidida por la infraestructura verde, no solo se vehicula a través de la planificación urbanística y sectorial, sino que también incluye el diseño de los espacios públicos de calidad alineados con estos principios. Los espacios públicos urbanos que buscan fortalecer la conexión entre ellos y maximizando los servicios ecosistémicos que estos espacios generan en el entorno urbano más inmediato a la residencia. Un ejemplo en este sentido serían las playas metropolitanas que se extienden a lo largo de 42 kilómetros del litoral metropolitano y que incorporan en su diseño y en su gestión la recuperación de los sistemas dunares. Por tanto, la integración del uso social combinado con el espacio natural y el mantenimiento de ecosistemas es un elemento integrado dentro del diseño y la forma de dar calidad a estos espacios. Tercer tema, la gestión de la complejidad. En relación a este tercer punto, la infraestructura verde metropolitana es rica y variada y dispone de órganos y modelos también de gestión muy específicos. Tampoco es un modelo único. Cada espacio, en función de las distintas administraciones, de las competencias que concurren, adecúa los instrumentos de gestión a las características o las necesidades de cada caso. Es necesario gestionar esta complejidad de manera que el conjunto coordinado de los 36 municipios que constituyen el área metropolitana de Barcelona sube más que cada uno de ellos de forma individual, por tanto, con sus especificidades también en función del tema concreto que vamos a tratar. En cuanto a los espacios públicos del área más urbanos, el área metropolitana, de acuerdo con los ayuntamientos metropolitanos, también tiene una red de parques metropolitanos, una red en que hay un mantenimiento integral y se genera modelo de gestión sostenible del espacio verde metropolitano. Por tanto, un modelo extrapolable y escalable a otros ámbitos también administrativos como territoriales. También en el caso de Collserola, la Sierra de Collserola, en que concurrimos 3 administraciones con la característica de parque natural con declaración por parte del Parlamento de Cataluña, tiene un órgano específico de gestión, como es un consorcio en que participan los municipios que tienen territorio en su ámbito, participa la Generalitat de Cataluña, la Diputación de Barcelona y el área metropolitana, liderando la gestión del territorio, pero en un consorcio de toda interadministrativo, ¿no? Son distintos modelos de cómo estamos gestionando distintas partes de esta infraestructura, de un todo que adapta la gestión a sus características. Respecto a los espacios abiertos, los objetivos de gestión se pueden sintetizar en la voluntad de establecer modelos y estrategias que tenderán a maximizar los servicios, tal como decíamos, ecosistémicos que llevan asociados y de establecer un mecanismo de control de las perturbaciones a las que están sometidos. La fórmula de los consorcios para gestionarlos es un ejemplo de cómo vamos afrontando esto, tal como decíamos, Parque Natural de la Sierra de Collserola, o el otro consorcio para lo que es la Serra de Marina, el macizo del Garraf, o el Parque Agrario del Baix Llobregat, o los espacios naturales del Delta. También en el caso del río Besós también hay consorcios, por tanto también son este conjunto de complejidades territoriales, ambientales, pero también administrativas y de gestión, ¿no? En estos consorcios, también en muchos de ellos, la sociedad civil tiene presencia, por tanto, la participación ciudadana tiene su espacio dentro de la propia gestión. A pesar de todo, y alabando las virtudes y como no puede ser de otra manera, con el convencimiento que lo estamos gestionando, hay que poner también el pero, que hay que seguir insistiendo en esto y hay que trabajar en una mayor transversalidad en la gestión de la infraestructura verde y buscar líneas estratégicas compartidas para también aumentar la cohesión de los espacios y aprovechar las economías de escala, ¿no? Tenemos que volver a encontrar en determinados espacios también encontrar puntos en común que faciliten esta economía de escala, por ejemplo, en espacios fluviales, en que hay espacios que tienen distintas características, pero tienen elementos comunes y que la gestión compartida permite aumentar los niveles de calidad ambiental, natural y ecológica de algunos de estos si se trabajan en conjunto. Por tanto, es hablar también de cómo esta diversidad busca los espacios que permiten compartir elementos y buscar esta transversalidad entre los elementos que dan coherencia a espacios de características algo distintas para mejorar la gestión y mejorar las calidades que pretendemos proteger. Para que la metrópolis verde tome sentido y pueda materializar su dimensión real y funcional, hay que dotar de calidad y continuidad a esta red de espacios interconectados que conforma la infraestructura verde, y se trata, en definitiva, de dotar la infraestructura verde metropolitana con contenido mediante mecanismos de gestión dinámica y comprometida con todos los agentes territoriales buscando su complicidad y corresponsabilidad en relación a un modelo de calidad que a través de la biodiversidad, la conectividad y la productividad beneficie al desarrollo del conjunto de nuestro territorio metropolitano. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much for showing that video. In order not to lose any time, I give immediately the floor to the Ramallah Green Project presented by Malvina Al-Jamal in English. There was a question on the interpretation. You should have an interpretation function where you can choose between English, French, and Spanish. Malvina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to present to you Ramallah Green Project.
You're online. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm trying to move to the second slide, but it's not moving. May you move the slide from your side?
It would be Leah who could do it as the host. I cannot do it from my side.
Okay.
Yes, Malvina, we are sharing your presentation from the host account.
Okay, so you move the screens, huh? Okay, next slide, please.
Who is sharing now? Is it Leah or still Malvina?
Now I'm moving the slides.
Okay, it's you too.
Yes,
Okay, please.
Please move
Please
your
go
slide.
ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, as I said, I will talk about Ramallah Green Project. Like many cities around the Mediterranean Basin, Ramallah city has already underwent multiple consequences related to climate change. That include the increased urban heat, desertification, decrease in the annual precipitation, and the significant change in the precipitation patterns, and also receiving heavy snow and rainstorms, and of course flash floods. And this all resulted in public health threat, increased food insecurity, water scarcity, and increased energy demands. Consequently, Ramallah municipality decided to launch Ramallah, a green project that would result in innovating new water and energy resources, decrease urban heat and runoff flood risk, increase green spaces, and of course raising the environmental awareness of Ramallah residents. Well, I will talk now with more details about these interventions. First of all, we've started with our strategic planning. The climate change adaptation became an essential component of our resilient Ramallah 2050 strategic plan. The first step was to develop an emergency network that work with relevant stakeholders to deal with the rising severe weather conditions due to climate change. And to deal with the flash floods, we are working on expanding our storm water network. And also we've started to build retaining walls along the roads to prevent the soil sliding in case of rainstorms. And in regard of the renewable energy, we've planted solar energy panels on the rooftops of the municipality facilities. And we are now using low energy consumption lights in our streets, schools, and municipal facilities. And also we promote the use of solar water heaters for the households. And also we replaced all our vehicles with electrically charged ones. And also now we use solar lighting in lighting our streets and some of our public gardens. And to innovate new water resources, first of all, we are trying to connect most of our city. In the meantime, 30% of our city is connected to a sewage network. The collected wastewater is treated in an advanced wastewater treatment plan, and the reclaimed water from this water treatment plant is reused in irrigation of our green spaces, and it is also used in firefighting and in providing water for the roads paving needs. And we also work on rationing the water use during our awareness activities. And we've developed our licensing building bylaws that rainwater harvesting cisterns is an obligatory condition in the meantime. And in regard of the solid waste management, a few years ago, we've started implementing pilot projects, recycling pilot projects, where we provided the residents of some neighborhoods in Ramallah city with plastic bins to separate the organic waste and the recyclables. And also in the meantime, we separate the paper waste and the cardboard waste from the commercial center in our city. And also recently, we've replaced all our solid waste collection vehicles with new ones with low CO2 emissions that comply with the Euro 6 standards. And to increase the green spaces in the city, we do implement on yearly basis trees planting campaign, planting of thousands of trees. And also we've developed our building licensing bylaw, where at least 10% of the built up area should be planted. And also we work on increasing the number of public parks in the city. In the meantime, we have 21 parks. And also we operate a nursery where all the generated plants are to be used to intensify the planting of our public spaces. And also we run plants exhibition on yearly basis to encourage the domestic planting. And as we believe that the community engagement for shared responsibility is an essential component in protecting the environment, we do implement also different environmental raising awareness projects with the school students in a specific way to raise their environmental awareness. And also we have a committee that we are proud of. We call it Ramallah Green Committee that meet on monthly basis to discuss all the environmental issues in the city. And that's in short what we do in Ramallah City. And thank you for your kind listening.
Thank you very, very much, Malvina, for that very inspiring and telling story, especially also to keep the 5 minutes we have, let's say, provided to you. I give the floor immediately to the next city, Metropolitan Rio de Janeiro, Reforestation Task Force Program, presented by Deborah Barros. I think she should be with us. At least she was with us. Deborah, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Perfect. Good morning.
I will share my screen. You can see my.
Perfect.
I'm looking for to present at full screen, but I don't find the. Okay, can
on
be.
the bottom, normally on the right side.
No. Okay, you can see.
We can see it. Do it like this. No problem.
Okay, no problem. Let's start. So we'll present the one program of municipality of Rio de Janeiro. That is the Mutirão reforestation for 3,400 hectares. Or we have for this staff, a logistical support, 5 forest nurseries, all of the municipal responsibility. And this program starts at 1984, and now, how can I say it, 3,400 hectares with planting more than 10 million seedling, and we have over 100 projects that provide indirect direct income for more than 600 people. And these programs work with a partnership with volunteers who are paid for this. In place where there are no communities, the work is done by the other companies, other ways of the fee. Just to see our nursery. In 2019, we have 5 nurseries with production exceeding 1 million seedlings per year. The first nursery opened in 1986. In Brazil, there are more than 33,000 plants with seeds. And our nurseries produce more than 300 species. And we put in our project around 30 species for project. Different fit to tend to maintain the biodiversity in our project. And we have developed protocols to produce hard spare seedlings. In this year, we finish this protocol And the objective of the reforestation is to increase vegetation cover, connect between fragments, improve microclimate, restore degraded areas, improve health of residents, and to here it's the more important to prevent a community expansion. That is a very problem here in Rio de Janeiro, and others objectives and benefits. But we confronted many difficult, unsafe places to work, improper disposal of garbage, that's management of exotic and invasive species, fires and invasions of areas by just to show our one or two project. It's a famous communities in Rio. It's Rocinha, before and after. Other project in Morro da Babilônia, before and after. And in our beats, Restinga vegetation recovery, and Mangue and Parque Royal before and after too. We have many difficulties in Rio, but this program is the most successful program in the municipality of green areas here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah, for that very ambitious, large-scale, but at the same time integrated project. I give immediately the floor to our colleague from Montreal, Guy Trudel.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Guy Trudel, share. Voilà. Vous voyez mon écran. Bonjour. Bonjour à tous. Donc, je commence. Présentation du projet de l'avenue Papineau à Montréal sur les systèmes de biorétention. Mon nom est Guy Trudel. Donc, premier item, les objectifs, l'expérimentation en 2011. Nous avions un contexte qui ressemblait à une autoroute. Il n'y avait aucun trottoir. Nous avions la voiture qui était en domination sur l'espace et un espace urbain déficient. En 2018, nous avons donc un boulevard verdoyant à une échelle humaine, avec un verdissement massif, central et latéral, un recadrement routier, donc une efficacité au niveau des voies de circulation, une rationalisation et un dispositif écologique, donc qui permet justement la mise en place d'une infrastructure verte que l'on voit ici, représentée par la photo avec le système d'eau de captation des eaux, donc une infrastructure verte efficace, 38 bassins d'eau de pluie, donc qui ramassent l'eau des trottoirs et de la chaussée, et un programme de suivi, donc un programme de monitoring avec le milieu scientifique et universitaire à Polytechnique Montréal. Nous voyons ici la sélection et la survie des végétaux, différents bassins avec différents types de végétaux, donc exotiques et locaux. La survie des végétaux, ça signifie, dans le projet que nous avons, aucune perte dans la famille des arbres. Donc, il y a eu une plantation d'environ 300 arbres, plus de 2500 arbustes, 30 000 graminées et vivaces en tout et partout. Et les végétaux qui ont été plantés en 2017-2018 sont présents à 90% actuellement. Ça représente 8 000 mètres carrés dans les bassins et 6 000 mètres carrés dans le terre-plein central. où il y a la majorité des arbustes. Je continue avec la survie des végétaux. Nous voyons ici différents types là, de végétaux avec les succès et les échecs. Donc, certaines plantes exotiques comme la népeta, qui est connue dans la région, avait eu des saisons difficiles, mais des fins d'année en pleine croissance. Le sporobulus, qui est une plante indigène, donc un très bon comportement continuellement. La Cichleria, Calamagrostis, des élimes des sables, qui sont très bonnes contre le sel de déclassage dans nos rues de Montréal en hiver. La menthe des chats, très bonne performance. Les roux de béquilles, qui par contre ont été remplacés par des arméria parce qu'ils ont eu des mauvaises performances. Et un arbuste, qui est le clavé dwarf, a été remplacé par le Rus aromatica. Donc, ça m'amène à passer au troisième point, la réception des projets et les réceptions dans le milieu. Donc, une population et une administration de plus en plus favorables aux infrastructures vertes, ce qui est une très bonne nouvelle. Des facteurs d'adhésion en augmentation dans la population et dans nos élus. Et ce qui amène à parler de questionnements qui sont souvent des enjeux non résolus autour de l'entretien, les coûts de réalisation et les financements qui sont souvent des problèmes de gouvernance. Donc, finalement, des leçons apprises et recommandations. Nous voyons aussi des bassins. Un besoin de certaines standardisations. Nous avons des démarches en cours à la Ville de Montréal, entre autres des exemples de saillies drainantes dans nos arrondissements, dans plus de nos 19 arrondissements, et des problématiques entre la solution unique et la mise en place de dispositifs qui sont justement adaptés à des territoires qui sont constamment diversifiés. Donc, merci beaucoup de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Guy Trudel.
Merci.
Thank you very much. When I saw the first picture where you showed the highway with 4 or 5 lanes, I remember that we have, unfortunately, still too many of them. So I think it's fantastic that we have replacing, let's say, such highways with green spaces. Last but not least, I give the floor to Rachel Morrison to present the Ignition project and the Greater Manchester Environment Fund, which is extremely interesting when we speak about green recovery, which was now the new term after the pandemic. Rachel, are you ready?
Thanks, Alex. I'll just share my screen.
You have perfectly the 5 minutes.
Perfect. Can I just check that you can see that?
Perfect.
Great. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Morrison. I'm the Senior Nature-Based Solutions Advisor at Greater Manchester Combined Authority, which is the city region authority for the sort of Manchester metropolitan area. I'm just going to give a quick overview of the work we've concurrently been doing to develop a sort of a positive enabling environment for green infrastructure delivery in Greater Manchester rather than specific capital works projects that we've been working on. So Greater Manchester is widely known as one of the birthplaces of the Industrial Revolution, and it still faces a number of major environmental challenges that threaten the future sort of health and prosperity of the city region. These range from air pollution and degradation of priority habitats to increasing risks from climate change, such as flooding and heat waves. In recognition of these challenges, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority launched a 5-year environment plan back in 2018. And it had a quite ambitious vision for a clean, carbon neutral and climate resilient city region with a thriving natural environment. The plan sets out a raft of actions which cover quite ambitious carbon reduction targets that we must deliver annually of around 15%, but also sort of air quality and many other issues around sustainable consumption and production. Today, I really just want to focus on the natural environment element of that plan, as the focus of this session is on green infrastructure. Ensuring we have a thriving natural environment is a key part of this plan. It's particularly crucial for climate adaptation and also delivering a high quality of life for citizens. And you can see some of the promises and ambitions in this plan that are set out on the slide. The aspect that I really want to focus on today, and it's one of the more difficult areas that we're trying to work on and improve our strategy on, is investment in Greater Manchester. Natural environment and particularly in green infrastructure. There's considerable need to mobilise additional investment to deliver Greater Manchester's natural capital priorities and to deliver an increased amount of green infrastructure across the city region. At present, as is the case in many other areas of the UK, investment is typically ad hoc and short-term sort of grant systems or very project-based grants in green infrastructure. It's not long-term, it's not strategic, and it's not currently increasing on an annual basis. And we know that sort of traditional grant and public funding model would be insufficient alone to deliver the mayor who leads the Greater Manchester Combined Authority ambitions to deliver a climate adapt city region that can deal with increasing pressures from heat waves and from increased flooding. Over the last few years, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority has worked to respond to this barrier through developing an investment strategy for natural capital in 2019, and is now working to implement this through the setup of a dedicated delivery sort of vehicle, the Greater Manchester Environment Fund, and also the Ignition project, which is focusing on researching new business models which can help fund investment in green infrastructure. So just move on to this one. So what I'm showing you here on the slide is the structure of the Greater Manchester Environment Fund, which we're in the process of setting up. It's the UK's first regional environmental impact fund, which will target social, environmental and financial outcomes and seeks to mobilise really additional funding and investment required to deliver Greater Manchester's vision for the natural environment and really recycle capital back into the natural environment. It's based on strategically aggregating and leveraging unrestricted funding from a range of sources to provide a pot of what we kind of call investment readiness funding, which can be used to seed fund strategic environmental projects. And these can in turn then provide a return on investment and help the fund to become self-sustaining and to fund those projects that can't provide a return investment, the ones that we need to do just because they're good for the public good. The fund's really designed to meet a growing interest in investing in environmental initiatives. So we've recognized that there's a lot of funders are seeking new opportunities to deliver environmental impacts alongside financial returns. But there's currently a lack of investable projects, which is why we're focusing on investment readiness. And there's kind of limited robustness of these business models at the moment. And there's really a lack of city region scale models as well. At the moment, we're very much working to build the philanthropic funding to help establish the fund, so that the top half of that diagram, but we've already identified a pipeline of near and medium-term investment opportunities to help that fund become self-sufficient. So these are things like carbon trading, a habitat banking facility that you might better know as biodiversity offsetting, and these are the opportunities we're looking to pursue in the future. If I just move on to Ignition, if I have a few more minutes. So Ignition is a research project that's really working hand in hand with the development of the GMEF. So it's specifically researching and developing business models that can sit within that structure and can be used to fund climate adaptation projects across the city region despite limited grant funding. We're working to sort of build investor confidence by really communicating and quantifying the performance of nature-based solutions and developing a living lab with the University of Salford. We're also working to develop specific business models looking at how investment can be obtained for 3 different types of nature-based solutions. So particularly around sustainable urban drainage systems in dealing with the large quantity of rainfall in Greater Manchester, public parks and green spaces linked to the public's willingness to pay to support and nature-based enterprises in these spaces. And finally, biosolar green roofs that can be retrofitted onto buildings across the city region. A lot of these are targeted at cost savings, but also sort of willingness to pay for nature-based goods and services. As these models evolve, they'll very much be housed within the GMEF, and any profits used to seed fund expansion or additional development of new models and increased investment in green space. So it's very much our model for the future, which we've been working on over the last few years rather than a capital project, but thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Also for keeping the time again. Very quickly, should one of you, of course, let's say, liked one of these projects a lot, Metropolis and its communication team is very active on social media, on Tweet, LinkedIn, give likes, tag it, love it, or share it. Also the YouTube, of course, video if some of your colleagues could not see this session. We have around 4 to 5 minutes left. And for that, I give, as I already said at the beginning, the floor to Galia Chokri. She's responsible as co-author for the, let's say, forthcoming issue paper on green infrastructure. I don't know whether she will now have some provocative thoughts or some rewarding words of what she already heard. At least I hope she was inspired about the session until now. And Galia, I give the floor to you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I was inspired. I want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this. And I definitely enjoyed very much learning about these ambitious and impressive projects. I would like, as I've been asked by Leah, to sort of bring a different perspective to the urban greening question. And we do love something that we do love and appreciate very much. But we also would like to ask, for whom is the green, resilient, and healthy city? And that has a lot to do with the research that we do. So if I can just share my presentation quickly. Can you see that? Okay.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yes, perfect.
But now I cannot see. Okay, so. Here we go.
It's not on the show mode. We see 2 slides.
You see 2 slides.
And all your notes.
Okay, here, let me do this then.
Like this is better.
Okay, thank you. So I would just give a quick background on our lab, which is directed by Isabel Angelovsky, who is with me co-authoring the forthcoming Metropolis report on greening and justice. Our overall approach encompasses theme and issue-driven, neighborhood-based and citywide research. We support local groups and campaigns and are informed by this outreach. And we also engage in policy for input and collaboration. Green inequalities is a key research area with which our lab is engaged, and from our website you can access some blogs on this topic, from green gentrification and climate adaptation to inclusive and equitable planning. At the foundation of this work, we examine how historical environmental injustices and uneven development are reshaped into new green inequities, especially by green gentrification. Environmental justice movements and research has shown that low-income and minority residents tend to suffer to a greater extent from environmental toxics, unsafe working conditions, and resource extraction. It has also been shown that wealthier residents benefit from the flow of resources to their neighborhoods, including healthy food stores, safe jobs, access to parks and recreational facilities, better climate-proofing infrastructure, and so on. However, there has been a strong correlation between the cleaning up of brownfield and toxic sites and then the investment in open space creation or rehabilitation in lower income neighborhoods and changes in demographic trends and neighborhood property values. This environmental gentrification has been described by Sarah Dooling as the implementation of an environmental planning agenda related to public green spaces that leads to the displacement or exclusion of the most economically vulnerable population while espousing an environmental ethic. So new urban greening and improvements are intertwined often with other urban redevelopment activities that contribute to gentrification and inequality. This puts environmental and economic benefits in tension with social benefits. The planning of new green infrastructure has been shown to sometimes induce substantial speculation. For example, the very announcement of a new green belt in Atlanta, Georgia, led to housing values within 400 meters of green infrastructure to spike by 30% in comparison with similar properties 1.6 kilometers away. In Barcelona, research by our colleagues has shown that the recent remodeling of Passeig San Juan into a green corridor, has been associated with real estate and food gentrification. All the while, this project has been marketed as an elegant greenway, a pleasant space, and a sustainable design, without a doubt an an excellent opportunity to invest in Barcelona. But to what extent are these benefits being enjoyed by the more vulnerable long-time residents? Today, as new green amenities are increasingly equated with gentrification and displacement, vulnerable residents may begin to see these green interventions as locally unwanted land uses. This is a term, a LULU, which is normally used for environmental burdens. So it is possible that these parks, greenways, or climate-proofing infrastructure can become locally unwanted land uses in low-income neighborhoods. In a recently published study, we examined Philadelphia, a city that has been a forerunner in green climate resilient infrastructure in order to address water pollution, pluvial and riverine flooding, as well as heat island effects. In fact, temperatures in Philadelphia are more than 10 degrees Celsius or 20 degrees Fahrenheit hotter in some lower income neighborhoods. In these maps depicting changes in African American and Latino residents, The dark blue spots, the dots, represent green resilient infrastructure implemented from 2000 to 2016. We found that central gentrifying neighborhoods were those which received the most greening. These neighborhoods also showed trends of declining minority populations of up to 64 percentage points, shown as blue and yellow census tracts. Meanwhile, the areas in red and orange were rapidly gaining minority residents. These neighborhoods, which are also some of the most climate vulnerable areas, have received the least climate protection. In other words, minority residents were not able to benefit from new greening for climate adaptation over the long run. As their neighborhoods gentrified, got greener and more climate protected, those minority residents were in fact being displaced to hotter, wetter, and unprotected neighborhoods. And the last slide. So in a second study of Philadelphia, that is currently under review, we have found that recently completed and planned green resilient infrastructure are strongly linked with economic reinvestment processes that have produced gentrification in central Philadelphia. These reinvestment activities have also supported the implementation of green resilient infrastructure and include blight and redevelopment certification, new private housing, regeneration of waterfront and historic districts, and rezoning for business investment that does not explicitly include lower income residents and local businesses. So to conclude, I just had 3 questions. I was asked to provide 3 sort of provoking questions. In our report, we actually give considerable attention to recommendations for ways to integrate into greening efforts, policies and processes that can support the ability of lower income and marginalized residents to stay in their neighborhoods and benefit from improved conditions and ensured environmental justice. However, we'd like to, I just pose these 2 things. So in which ways or how might your greening projects be dependent on other processes that are strongly associated with gentrification and displacement? 2, how can your urban greening programs strengthen lower income residents' capacities to remain in their longtime homes and neighborhoods? And 3, do community-based organizations in your metro area perceive that greening improves, or do they think that it potentially undermines the well-being of socially vulnerable and marginalized groups over the long run? That's all.
Thank you very much, Galia. I think it was very interesting, especially I'm very curious now to see the final paper, which is supposed to be, let's say, ready by the end of the year or beginning of next year. I thank you also for the 3 questions. We have actually not scheduled any debate time because it's a public event and many participants. I'm very happy. I think 98% of the participants are still here. So that's always a good sign. But I would like to say thank you, first of all, to all the presenters. Fantastic insight, fantastic project. I think Metropolis will make available the different presentations. Also, what we will always produce at the end of each of these CMD programs is a final report, which will also be available. I have to say thank you also to Lee and the entire team behind the public event, as well as, of course, to the interpreters. I have to say goodbye to the public participants, those who will be not, let's say, tomorrow available in the private event. And the other one, as I say, tomorrow, same time, same station at 3 o'clock. We have 3 challenges to tackle with. We will have a very interesting interactive debate and more time for solutions on dealing with existing infrastructure realities, tackling climate change, and a very important issue of how to improve metropolitan governance. From my side, stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, I hope really next year I will see you face to face in one of these beautiful green infrastructure we have in all the cities and the metropolitan area. Merci beaucoup. Muchísimas gracias. Adios. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow.